healing in your own way. We must do it. We got to do it. And I tell you what, when you start to heal, some of the old traditions that you learned, they're not going to make sense anymore. So you're going to want to learn more, and you're going to want to study more, and you're going to want to build a stronger connection with God more. And you have to have an individual, personal, intimate relationship with God so you can know him for yourself. So you won't have other people trying to manipulate you and force you to do things that's beyond your will. If you haven't done so already, my name is Marion, and I am with Restoring Ghettos Forgotten, and I'm here with a message of encouragement to people that may not quite understand how some of our belief systems was really used against us. And even now today, it may not be the same people that did it way back in slavery, but they implanted that thought structure and that system to keep us down into our own people and our own ministers and preachers and pastors that were able to have churches, because we needed something to hold on to. We didn't have anything. So we needed that. But the slave master gave them the messages that they had to teach us, even in slavery. And guess what? That has trickled down little by little from generation to generation. And now we still have some people around that really believe that, especially the black woman, is supposed to carry the whole load. It's supposed to struggle and just be okay with it. And it's a travesty. And I that's why I always believe that we have to do our work, and we have to have a personal relationship with God so that we can know him individually, so we can have an intimate bond and relationship with our Creator. So with that being said, if you have people still trying to, and oh, that's another thing I wanted to bring up. There was no such thing in my religion. If you're not a Christian, I understand that. But in what I believe in, we weren't taught boundaries when I was growing up. There was no boundaries. We were just told by our elders in front of us that no matter how much harm a person caused us, we had to forgive them. We had to forgive them, and we had to keep accepting them back into our lives. Now, I believe in forgiveness, and I believe that we're supposed to forgive. But if somebody doesn't change, you don't have to necessarily stay around to keep getting re-injured. Because if you keep getting re-injured, you're going to keep having to do work on yourself, and you're going to have to keep healing. That's insanity. If you keep doing everything the same way, getting the same result is insanity. So why would you do that to yourself? Why would you let somebody repeatedly hurt you, all in the name of forgiveness? And there's no growth there. There's no healing there when you do that. So I believe that yes, if somebody harms you and hurts you, then you can forgive them, but you don't have to be a part of their lives. You can love them from a distance. You can pray for them, whatever that takes, but you have to protect your psyche, your well-being from that person that refuses to do his or her work. I'm putting this video out because I think there's still some confusion going on in our communities about forgiveness and about what a certain person is responsible for, and irregardless of what harm was caused to that individual, they still have a debt to pay. And I'm here to tell you that there are no debts to pay. There are no debts to pay. Nobody owes anybody anything. The only thing we owe other people is respect and honor. But if that person does not respect and honor themselves and others, you don't owe them anything. Irregardless of what your elders or somebody wants to tell you, you're responsible for this, you're responsible for that. No, the only thing we're responsible for is to honor God and honor ourselves and honor others. But you're dishonoring yourself when you keep allowing people into your life that's poisonous, that keeps re-injuring you. You're dishonoring yourself. So what good is that going to do if you keep doing that for other people? So I wanted to say that because there's a misconception about, especially the black woman, because I don't know, it's like men get a pass or something. I don't know. But there's a misconception about the matriarch. Like me, for instance, I'm the matriarch of my family, and I'm not that old. But my mom is gone. My grandmother is gone. I really don't have any aunties. I have one auntie in Washington, and she's a very quiet, to herself type individual. So I really don't have anybody like older than me that I'm able to go to and pull something out of, because the closest people to me are now gone on, and they left too early to begin with. But there's no matriarch, so I'm kind of like the matriarch of the family, even though I'm still I consider myself still young. I don't think I'm old enough to be, the great grandmother or whatever like that. But because I'm the matriarch, I have a lot of people pulling at me. And sometimes it gets overwhelming, because I'm like, whoa, I'm still like unofficially rearing children. My son is 18, but he's not officially grown until he's 21. So I'm still rearing him. And then now I have a couple of grandchildren that I'm also trying to participate in raising them with, with their parents, of course. But I don't feel like I should be taking on all this extra load, because I'm still trying to take care of myself, for one, because I'm single and I just lost my ex-husband. He passed away last year, but even though he was my ex-husband, he still covered me in a sense. He still did a lot of things for me, and now I no longer have that. So I'm here alone. You could even say I'm a widow in some case. And I'm still raising my son to the best of my ability, and I'm managing the economy with my businesses and maybe possibly working side jobs whenever I can. So I'm stretched. So I can't have I can't have one more thing put on my plate. Last year I went through so much, especially with the loss of Rick. People that follow me know my ex-husband's name was Rick Wallace, and he was a wonderful man. But with the loss of him and so many other traumas and tragedies that happened to me last year, I physically got sick. A lot of people did not know I was not well last year, and I'm just recovering by getting myself back healthy and making sure my numbers are right, and making sure mentally, physically, and spiritually I am attuned so that I can be in a healthy state of being. I'm just now getting back to that place. But last year my body was a wreck, and I didn't feel good, and I was in and out of the emergency rooms. People didn't know, and I didn't know what was going on with me. It was just the overload of stress. It was the overload of me being the matriarch, me being the only one responsible for everybody that's connected to me. That just got too overwhelming. So I realized, with me getting sick, at the end of the day, while I was getting sick and I was trying to pour into so many people, when it came time for people to pour into me, I had nobody. Really. So really, I didn't. So when it came time for, I started to think, I said, you know what, you're making yourself sick because you're overextending yourself. So honestly, as I was going through that, and then it was coming into the new year, I said, you got to stop doing that, because you got to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? Nobody was going to take care of me. So I had to slow down. And I'm saying this to women and even men that may be doing everything by themselves. Everybody's pouring their stuff on you. Everybody wants you to help. Everybody wants you to slow down. You got to take care of you first. And it starts with getting rest. I wasn't resting enough because I was doing too much. When you don't have adequate amount of sleep, it'll start tearing down your body. Like, your body will start breaking down, and before you know it, you're sick in ways you've never been sick before. So I told myself I was going to do better. So I started doing better towards the end of the year. And then once I got into this year, I really got good at it. And I started getting more rest. I started exercising, started eating better. And I just tried to alleviate as much stress as I possibly could. And I've been doing a really good job at doing so. And I'm speaking to the ladies and men too, because sometimes you overwork yourselves too. You have to know that I don't care what your grind is. I don't care what your responsibility is. Your body, your psyche, you're important. You have to get your rest. You have to make sure you take care of you, because if you don't take care of you, nobody else will. So I said out that to say, I'm going into, we're almost like over half part of the year. And then so we're in July, and I've been doing really well. And I went to the doctor not that long ago, and some of the medical concerns that I had last year has disappeared. Praise God, praise the Lord. But I had to sit down and start caring for myself, and I had to slow down, and some things I had to stop doing, and just really make sure I could get the adequate amount of rest. So I'm in this place and I'm trying to get rest, and now I have people trying to pull at me again. I've always been a person to want to help other people. Always. I've always been that person. If you need something, I have it, it's yours. But what I figured out in my big age, is that your hand, it can actually work against you, because people won't see you as a human being. They see you as a means to an end, like something that they need from you. And as long as you're giving it to them, oh, you're the best person in the world. But as soon as you start having boundaries and say no, that's when they turn against you. And that's how you're able to see if people really care about you or not, or why they really keep you around, and why they do some of the things that they do. And so the more I realize that I start to exercise my boundaries and say no, because it's okay for me to say no. I can't be everything to everyone and miss my own needs and my own self. So I have to start saying no. But I notice that when I say, I'm really not in a position to do that right now because I got this going on or whatever, they don't even hear half of what I'm saying. All they hear is that I just said no. So then that's when the disrespect starts to come in, and that's when the entitlement starts to come in, and that's when I realize you've done too much for too long, and it's just, you're gonna have to make sure you take care of yourself. So this is me reminding women all over that are the matriarch of the family, irregardless of your age. Remember to take time out and take care of yourself. We just saw not that long ago that there was this young lady that I think she had her own restaurant or food business, and she had worked, I don't know how many shifts she had worked. And she said, on her last post, she said, I'm taking off and I'm going to get me some rest, because, she had overworked herself. That woman never woke back up. And guess what? That can be one of us. People don't care. They don't care if they see you working from sun up to sundown, as long as their needs are being met, as long as you taking care of what they need you to take care of, as long as you paying all the bills, and as long as you're able to give people this and that. And they don't care if you work yourself into an early grave. You got to care about yourself. So this is me reminding the matriarchs and even the patriarchs of the family, take some time for yourself. That's why last year I wasn't able to take a vacation last year, but this year I made sure I got a vacation in there, and I'm trying to get another one for my birthday, because I work really hard and I don't ask nobody for nothing. So I feel like I got to take some time off sometimes to recuperate and rest, and it's okay for me to do so. So I'm saying to you is, make sure you take the necessary time off to get you some rest. And make sure you do exercise your right to say, no, I'm not in a position to do that, if you know it's going to stretch you too far. So like I said, make sure you take care of yourself, irregardless of what your elders or someone else is trying to guilt you. You don't owe nobody nothing. There are no debts. There are no debts owed. As long as you know that you've been the best that you could possibly be to other people, and then whenever you turn around and you may need them, nobody's there for you, or they're treating you like, what's wrong with you? You always do this, you always do that. Well, because I'm human, and sometimes God may want to sit me down a little bit. First of all, because I need the rest, but he also need me to see the people that are surrounding me, if they got my best interest at heart. If I'm the only one that's doing what I need to do, and I have nobody to pour back into me, then sometimes God needs to let you see that, so that you can start taking care of you and your needs a little bit. It doesn't mean you get selfish, but when times get tight and hard, you got to say, okay, I'm tired, I don't feel well, so I'm not going to be able to put that thing that you need me to do for you on my plate right now, and I hope you can understand that. I am waiting on a moment when somebody asks me to do something and I tell them I'm not in a position to do it, and they turn around and they be positive about it. I've had so many people close to me lately. It started last year when I needed them, when I needed to say, hey, I don't feel good, I need to stop with all this responsibility. I may even need a little help at this point. You know, when last year when I was going through all those different traumas and tragedies, I think I lost 3 or 4 important people last year in my life. They passed on, and that really weighed heavy on me. So I'm like, wow, who's there for me? I kind of need somebody, you know. We can't always be everything to everyone, and we miss ourselves. So that's what this message is for. It's meant for me to say, slow down. You're not a robot. You can't go from sun up to sundown without eating nutritious foods, without getting rest, without drinking your water, taking your supplements, working out, taking care of yourself, going to the doctor, making sure you know what your numbers are, and making sure you're well, because I guarantee you at the end of the day, nobody's going to say, hey, how, and really care about how are you. When I talk to my friends and I know that they're, you know, they've been overworking, I always say, hey, how are you? No, how are you really? Have you been to the doctor? How do you feel? Are you drinking water? You know, that's because I genuinely want the people that I care about healthy and well. Because I know it doesn't matter how much money you try to make, how little money you try to make. If you're not, how little money you make, you still got to find somehow, some way to take care of yourself. So that's what this video is about. I wanted to stop just to say, look, you know, we can only do so many things. We're human. A lot of times people, if you always helping everybody, a lot of times you're the first person they go to. You kind of make yourself into a mini God, and you don't want to get in God's way, because God may be trying to do work with people, but he wants them to come to him. So sometimes you get in his way, and when you get in his way, sometimes he got to sit you down. Look, I done told you to stop doing this, that, and the third, but you keep getting in my way. So now I got to sit you down for a while so that I can get this one right. You know, I've been trying to get this one right for years, but you keep stepping in trying to save them. You can't be their savior. So I hope this made sense. This is just me saying it's okay to have healthy boundaries. It's okay to tell people no. It's okay to love yourself and take care of yourself and slow down sometimes, because as we see, life is going by so quickly, and you are very important. Yes, you, the one that's always been looking out for everybody else. So when you turn around and you need someone else, nobody's available. And so I just want to take time out to say, for the matriarchs and the patriarchs of the family, you guys, you ladies and gentlemen, you slow down long enough to take you some time off, get you some rest, take care of yourself. People that really love you and respect you, and you tell them where you are, you genuinely want to say, hey, I'm not in a position, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm kind of overextended. And when you tell them that and they're not listening to you, and then they start to be disrespectful, or they, you know, decide to walk away, they were never there for you in the first place. And it's always been your hand. It's always been what you could do for them, not what they can do for you. So I'm done with that, but I just wanted to make sure I tell the people that are always the go-tos. You know, there are people in your family where you can always go to them, because if they have it, it's yours. You know that. But there are some times where God is trying to do work within you, and he wants to get you to a certain place. He doesn't want you to be able to go to this person and let them fix it. He wants to fix whatever you got going on in your life sometimes. Let God be God. Build that intimate relationship with God and let him be your God. Stop making other people your God. Stop going over there to them when you know God is your source. God is my source. God is my only constant. That's it. When I tell you I feel like God has put me on an island, I feel it. No mother, no grandmother, no aunties that I can really, call on when I'm going through things. Just me and God. But that's the way he got it, and that's the way we gonna do it. Because now I'm finally actually loving myself. When you start to love yourself and accept yourself, and you know that God loves you and he accepts you, you will not tolerate disrespect or dishonor. Because you don't disrespect or dishonor anybody else, you're not gonna tolerate that in your life. Okay? So when you finally start loving yourself, it's okay for you to have boundaries. And it's okay for you to be the villain in everybody's story. I'm the villain. I feel like I'm the black sheep, you know. Everybody look at me and they think, they're assuming so many different things. They don't know what I got going on in my life. They don't know what I have to do to maintain my life. All they can do is pass judgment, and that's okay. I can be your villain in your story. You can tell people all these things about, but always make sure you don't forget to tell them what I've done. You're telling them what I'm not doing anymore, but don't forget the things that I have done. So make sure you tell the whole story and not half the story. So this perhaps it was a little personal for me today, but I'm sure I'm not the only one going through these things when you're the matriarch or the patriarch of the family, even though you may be younger than you possibly should be, because you have some matriarchs and patriarchs of the real matriarchs and the patriarchs that are not responsible enough to take over and take those roles. So then they start handing them down to people that may even be not old enough to do those things. And that could be a little overwhelming by itself. I'm like, man, I'm not, why am I the only person? And that's when the Lord says, stop. Stop. It's okay to say no. It's okay to have boundaries. Okay? Because if you don't take care of yourself, then they're going to be like, dang, what happened to her? Nobody cares. And I'm starting to see that. I'm like, no matter how much I try to love on other people, at the end of the day, I really don't think people care about you, especially when you've cared too much for other people, and that's so sad. I think that's the saddest thing ever. So we got to start caring about ourselves more. I'm done. I love you guys. Remember this, to always love yourself. No, love God. Love yourself and love others. And if you choose not to love others, at least don't hurt them. Bye-bye. Love you.